Looking to increase the area along the side of your table saw? Well, stick around and I'll show you my design for a removable side feed table for your table saw. Hey, Nick from Old Fashioned Nights, and on today's video I'm going to make a removable side feed table for my Dewalt DW745 table saw. Now, if you watched any of my previous videos, you know I've made a removable infeed and outfeed table using the brackets on the Dewalt rolling saw stand to help increase the working area of this job site saw. So the removable infeed outfeed table is working great. It's really helped having that extra surface area for those larger cuts. But recently I was cutting some 4-foot 3/4 inch MDF, which was real heavy and awkward to work with, and found myself wishing I had some extra supports along the side of my table saw. So I ended up moving a table over to support the MDF, but it got me thinking, you know, if I have a removable infeed and outfeed table, then surely I can come up with a solution for a removable side feed table. So I don't have anything designed yet. I have some rough ideas in my head, but nothing really set in stone. I decided I'm going to do this video like I did my outfeed table and just kind of think out loud so you know my thought process and understand my reasoning for what I'm doing. That way, if anyone's interested in designing their own side feed table and using my design as reference, maybe they'll see something design-wise that's obvious that I missed and make a better version of it. So looking at the side of the Dewalt table saw setup, the first thing that stood out to me was a kickstand on the rolling saw stand, and maybe I should utilize that for my side feed table. The kickstand's sturdy, and the rubber bumpers have a screw hole that maybe I could use. But the one thing that stuck out to me was the kickstand was not even with the saw. If you look, the one side sits higher than the other. Now I could design something to account for that, but I thought maybe there was a better option than using the kickstand. So I also looked at the axle of the rolling saw stand, maybe placing something on top of it and having something behind it locked to it, but everything I came up with just didn't work out right. Another thing I want to point out, when I came up with my infeed and outfeed tables, one of my design parameters was that I wanted to avoid drilling into my table saw, whether that be into the table saw itself or the rolling saw stand. I wanted to design something that kept the saw as stock as possible, and to be honest, I was afraid I would screw up and would have unsightly holes in my saw. So I decided to take a step back from the problem and reanalyze it. My main goal was to have a side feed table for cutting large lumber that would be awkward and dangerous to hold without support. 99.9% of the time that I'm cutting wood, I'm by myself. Well, if I'm cutting large and awkward wood, I should also be using my infeed and outfeed table. So I started focusing on what could I come up with using my infeed and outfeed tables to hold my side feed table. I also wanted to make it that if I'm not using my side feed table, the additions I made to the infeed and outfeed tables wouldn't get in the way of just normal cutting. So here I have my table saw set up with my infeed and outfeed tables attached. Now if I want to make a removable side feed table that is hidden when not in use, I'm thinking the best way is to have brackets that come out from under the infeed and outfeed tables, and then the tabletop is secured to those. I would like to have the tabletop be part of these brackets, but can't think of an easy way to do that and maintain strength of the assembly. For the brackets that come out from under the infeed and outfeed tables, I want something that will keep the tabletop addition flush with the rest of the assembly. I could either do something that slides out from under the infeed and outfeed tables, or I could do a bracket on hinges that fold out. My biggest concern is that whatever I come up with won't be strong enough to support the potential weight, so I may need to add a kickstand like I did for my outfeed table for extra support. So what I'm going to do is focus on the outfeed table first and design a pair of brackets that fold out and see how those come out. Then I'm going to look at the infeed table. I'm going to get myself some rough dimensions, glue up and square up some 1x3 boards I have to give myself some nice sturdy and straight lumber to work with and get to building. So looking closer at the outfeed table, I think I want to cut a couple pieces of wood and connect it to the outfeed tables here and here with some hinges. I'll call these pieces the hinge supports. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut some pieces that extend out, which I'll attach to the hinge supports, and these will be what support the side feed table. I'll call these pieces the side feet supports. Alright, I got my outfeed table upside down and I have my hinge support pieces cut. You can see this one fits nicely right under these pieces here, and then this one fits nicely right there. So with those done, now it's time to figure out what am I going to cut the length of those pieces that are going to support the side feed table. We'll first start out with the smaller hinge support. So we'll go ahead and place it as if it's open, and I got this small piece here as an example. So with it out, it's going to stick out like so, and when we fold it in, it'll be like this. So what this piece is going to be limited by is the distance between the hinge support as well as this upright bracket. So what I gotta do is figure out the length of that, and then because I don't want it to bind when opening and closing, I'm probably gonna go ahead and cut it about 1/4 inch shorter than what I need it to be. So we're at 13 inches, so I'll go ahead and cut that piece about 12 3/4. Now for the larger hinge support, we're really not limited by much, but what I want to do is I don't want it to stick out farther than the edge of my outfeed table. So I'm going to measure the distance between the edge of the outfeed table and the hinge support and just cut it to that length. So we're at 20 inches. So for our side feed table supports, I'm going to go ahead and cut a 20-inch piece and a 12 3/4 inch piece. So with my side feed table supports cut, I'm going to go ahead and secure them to hinge supports with pocket holes, and I'm also going to cut a right angle bracket to give a little bit extra support to the joint. Alright, we have our pieces cut. Now it's time to install them. I've gone ahead and bought myself some hinges, so let's go ahead and put those in. I have my outfeed table installed on my table saw, and you can see that this bracket isn't fully open. That's because it's hidden a wheel on my saw stand. I'm going to cut some material off of it so it clears the wheel, and I'm also going to screw a piece of wood that hangs off from under the outfeed table, so when the hinge is open, that piece of wood will take some of the weight away from only being supported by the hinges. Now that the outfeed table is done, time to focus on the infeed table. The hinge brackets I did on the outfeed table went better than expected, so I think I'm going to do the same for the infeed table. One challenge of the infeed table is that it's a lot smaller than the outfeed table, so I can only fit one hinge bracket easily, and to get the most extension for those side feed supports, I'm thinking I'm going to have to fold it inwards towards the front of the infeed table and use those hinges to have it travel 180 degrees versus the 90 degrees of the outfeed table. Now that I have my side feed supports in place, it's time to focus on the table itself. So I wanted to get my side feed table length to line up with the front of my infeed table to the back of my outfeed table. The overall length of my setup is just a hair under 5 foot, meaning that I either needed to get an 8-foot piece of plywood and cut it down, or get a couple of 4-foot pieces and somehow marry them up. While I was walking down the aisles of my local Menards, when I spotted their DIY shelving department, and found myself a 6-foot piece of shelving that was 24 inches wide. The shelving is straight, the surface is nice and smooth, it's lightweight compared to plywood, and it's 3/4 inches thick, which is what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to 5 feet. And then to secure it to the side feed brackets, I'm going to install these 1/4-20 threaded inserts into the side feed table. I have these threaded thumb screws that I'm going to run through the bottom of the side feed brackets, which I'll use to tighten down the table and hold it in place. I know I'm going to lose this threaded thumb screw when not in use, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is bore out this hole just a little wider for the top, and that's because I'm going to put this nylon lock nut on that threaded thumb screw, so when it's not in use, it stays on the table, and when I need it, I just push it up and use it. Side feed table is complete. I was worried about it not being strong enough, but I threw 50 pounds worth of weight on it, and it's holding its own nice and straight. I'll probably do a few more tweaks, like having a way to lock those brackets in place when not in use so they don't swing out, and maybe put some limits to prevent them from opening up further than they need to when I'm setting things up. Lastly, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content. I'll have some more videos coming up shortly where I'll be building some furniture, maybe doing some more stuff with wine, and just stuff that overall interests me. So again, thanks for watching. Bye.